Madagascar came out in the year 2005 and includes the likes of Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, David Schwimmer and Jada Pinkett Smith. This movie is about a lion called Alex, who is a star attraction at the zoo in Central Park in New York, and he is best friends with Marty, Chris Rock's character, who is a zebra, and good friends with Gloria, who is a hippo played by Pinkett Smith, and Melman, played by David Schwimmer. And these animals have all lived at the zoo all, if not most, of their lives and have really no intentions of leaving. However, this all changes when Marty dreams of maybe leaving the zoo after talking to the penguins and going, maybe I ought to leave and see the wild, as he has a poster on his wall of the zebras running in the wild. And after he sees that, he immediately thinks, I need a change of scenery, and he isn't really happy with the customs he's getting at the zoo, as he doesn't really like the idea of everything being handed to him. So he goes out, he tries to leave, he does leave, he goes into New York itself, tries to get on a train, I believe, and the rest of the animals, his friends, follow him to try to stop him escaping, really, and this leads them all to get shipped to Madagascar. So what I liked about this movie then is a half decent story, and we'll get onto why it's not really good later on. However, this was an entertaining watch in terms of comedy, as it had three of the well-known comedians around this time, likes of Ben Stiller, David Schwimmer, and the likes of Chris Rock, in which are well funny, in my opinion, are in some great funny films, and are seen as three of the biggest comedians around. I suppose Ben Stiller's not really around these days, and neither is David Schwimmer, but the likes of Chris Rock in this movie is probably the only one still around doing movies and shit like that. But obviously, this brought an incredibly funny sort of atmosphere to the movie, as you had the likes of these three comedians helping bring the comedy levels up a notch, in which really helped the movie flow. I also thought that the actual physical story was half decent, as you get the reason why Chris Rock's character would want to leave the zoo, as wouldn't you if you thought, no, I mean, I'm doing the same thing day in, day out, and you want change sometimes. I know that in my personal opinion, it's quite relatable in that sense, that you want change sometimes. I'm not a big fan of change, I must admit, but in this sense, if you're doing the same thing, you're going to be like, fuck this, I'm going. And that's what he did, and was like, I'm going. And obviously he saw change, and he was actually happy when he landed on Madagascar, unlike the other three. Furthermore, I also think that it was interesting to see how these caged up animals all their lives would interact with other animals on Madagascar, because these animals on Madagascar have probably never been in a zoo before, and vice versa. Those that have been in a zoo have probably never been or remembered being in the wild before, so neither have really got experiences in both fields. So it was like exciting to see how these animals would interact well with each other. And yeah, I just think they interacted how you would have thought, a bit sort of cautiously. I don't really get this guy and he don't really get me, and that sort of atmosphere was going on. And even throughout the series, you see that they are presented as still that caged up animal and are not wild animals like some of these are, and that you can clearly sense the difference between a wild animal and a not wild animal, which is a zooed animal, and you get to see that throughout the film series. And I think this one presents it brilliantly, of them interacting with new faces which they haven't seen before. I also like the actors and actresses within this movie, as you had the likes of Ben Stiller as Alex, Chris Rock as Marty, you also had David Schwimmer as Melman, and you also had Jada Pinkett Smith playing Gloria, in which I thought helped the movie get across better, because the actual story for me was good, decent. However, it was brought to a new light. If Ben Stiller weren't in this movie, I think I would have probably gone, know what, this isn't as good, You know what I mean? But he elevated that, and not many people like to admit that, but he elevated that. Chris Rock elevated that. Jada Pinkett Smith elevated it, and so did David Schwimmer. Helped elevate the product from what it was, and helped it achieve better potential of what the story was actually capable of doing, because it had such a varied actors and actresses within this particular movie, and we didn't really know if these actors would work well together, but they showed that they work well with each other, and they helped feel the chemistry on screen, in which was excellent to see. I also really like this, as I really think this is one of Ben Stiller's best movies, and Chris Rock's best movies, and Jada Pinkett Smith's best movies, and even David Schwimmer's best movies, because he hasn't been in many movies, David Schwimmer, and I thought this was one of his better ones. However, not everything in this movie smelled of roses, as there was a hint of shit in my opinion, and that hint of shit was the fact that there was no real antagonist within this movie. And I know what you might be thinking, this movie wasn't designed to have an antagonist. Correct, but not correct at the same time, because you know what? I like an antagonist in animation movies. They're always the best sort of antagonist. Think of it, Lion King, Scar. You've also got, in Toy Story, Sid. Toy Story 2, you've got Al. In Toy Story 3, you've got Lotso. And even in Shrek, you've got the likes of Lord Farquaad. You've got, the fairy godmother in Shrek 2. It's like, wow, these are great antagonists. Why hasn't Madagascar 1 got one? And you're sort of like, I don't really get that. And if you're like, oh, the people are the antagonist, well, they're a shit villain. I'm not even going to lie there, because it was like, okay, you've got the people. Okay, now the ship to Madagascar. So the people aren't involved now. Okay, it's these like hyena things in the jungle, in which are going to be the main villain. Even though they weren't the main villain at all, they felt like a piece of shit on the floor. They didn't really go into these villains at all if these were the main villains. And to me, it needed some sort of antagonist. I don't know why they didn't bring one in, but I think they learned their lesson in the 2 movies that followed, because they had great, antagonists after that, as you had the weird sort of lion, in which she's struggling to get into power in the second movie, which I can't wait to do the movie review on that one, as that one is my favourite, Madagascar. And then in the third one, you've got this hunter-like woman going around trying to kill the lion to have him on her wall. And that was sort of like, ooh, shit, you know what I mean? But in this one, it missed an antagonist for me, hence why it's not that great of a story. To summarise then, this movie could have been 10 times better if it had an antagonist. However, the funny aspects of the movie and the well established actors in this movie and actresses helped bring and elevate this movie to a different light, and hence why I've rated this a 7.4 and a world-class film. Let me know down in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this video. Also, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content this channel creates, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.